Yeah, large parking lots, large businesses, Walmart parking lots are great.
Yeah, Lowe's parking lots we use for staging area.
All great examples, all very good examples. And again, these are places where they're available, large enough where the media can come and gather also. Media doesn't, they like nothing better than showing up at one of these town hall meetings where the irate citizens, irate citizens are going to be at town hall meetings, but it's probably one of the best places to get information out to the public because everybody's there, including the media. Remember, we want media there as well to tell our story and to get the message out to the people.
As long as they listen to all sides of the story, not just the one that
The loudest.
complained and wanted them there, because that's the problem that we see a lot is people, they'll call the media and they might even run something on, that person's perceived,
Oh, yeah.
issues.
And it's a given, pretty much, that's going to happen in most communities. Others, maybe not, but I would say in most. Local agency personnel, they're a huge assistance. Coming into an area, and I'm from a different state, they may not want to listen to me. What do you know about our community? But you put up one of the local firefighters or paramedics, police officers that they're familiar with that uniform, that'll help you greatly. The agency administrator might know the people that are going to be the loudest at these town hall meetings or community meetings because they probably deal with them on a regular basis with phone calls or emails. So they might say, keep an eye on this person. Not necessarily to warn you about them, about being a troublemaker, but just keep an eye on them, take care of them. If they come to you with a problem, listen to them, see if you can't take care of them. Because we all know there's members of the community that are extremely compassionate about their areas, and they want you to know about it.
Those are the people who I would enforce the mandatory evacuation for. Sorry, gotta go.
Yeah, it's one way of dealing with them. And these are some other key individuals in the community that you need to keep an eye out for. These are people with vested interest in their community. Again, remember, coming from an IMT perspective, you're coming from a totally different area, maybe from the same state, but a totally different area. So these people, do they trust you? Do they know you? Do they recognize you? But these are the people you need to tap into, because why? These people can get out information in large numbers to other people. Homeowners associations, community groups, business owners, they're all going to be an assistance to you. How many businesses help people out? First responders during our recent disaster. They open up their doors, open up their kitchens, open up their facilities, whatever it does to everybody. And they're the ones that are going to get back up on their feet first and help us get the word out to the community about what's going on.
Churches are amazing when coming
Yeah.
doing that too.
Churches, absolutely. And I understand from watching your local news that FEMA is reconsidering not, or to subsidize the churches that help. That pretty much it's always been the request for compensation has been turned down, but now they're reconsidering that. They were apparently sued by a couple different houses of worship, and now they're reconsidering that action where it's an automatic turn down if you're a church and you help out.
A lot of churches, especially in smaller areas, provide a lot of services
Yeah,
after
shelter,
disaster.
food.
Yeah, food is a huge.
Emotional support,
Yeah,
as we all know, that at times either the first responders or members of the community need it. They need that help.
But when we need to close the school shelters, because we have to open the schools, and there's folks that need some place to go, the churches are, they stand up.
Yes, so hopefully that issue with compensation, churches now be able to benefit from FEMA's involvement. Again, as we climb up the ladder of people within the community that we need to keep an eye on, listen to, take care of, elected officials, community leaders, and special interest groups. Obviously, they're going to be the loudest. We really have no control over elected officials. While we can certainly provide them talking points, do they really read them? Joe Frago talked about the one that saw there was a live press conference going on, ran down there, and then just totally blew whatever information that they didn't want to put out. They put out because they weren't there early on, to be prepped by the PIO about what we're saying, what we're not, the do's and the don'ts. But do we have control over elected officials?
The only thing you can do is provide as much training as possible.
Yeah. And then use our training in providing talking points, letting them know about it, letting the elected officials know, hey, there's a town hall meeting coming on. Good idea to be there. Because rather than you take the flak, let that elected official take the flak. That's why they're there. Community leaders and special interest groups. Obviously, all important people. Special interest groups, you get into some tricky situations, especially if they're environmentalists. Obviously, we all care about the environment. We don't want it harmed. However, there's some things we can't help. It's out of our control. But they don't want to hear that. They think there's more that can be done for the environment. So, speaking of elected officials, Keith, I'm sorry if I'm standing in your way.
No.
I just thought about that.
I can still hear you.
Okay, with elected officials, it's important to check in with the incident commander and the agency administrator. Let them know that elected official has contacted you, that they want you to be their point of contact, and you're working with them. It's important for that agency administrator because depending on who that elected official is, you might want to deal with them. So the PIO's role, the one that's assigned to work with the community, these are some things that you can do to take care of that elected official. Obviously, you may want another assistant PIO to take care of, assigned directly to an elected official and or their staff. And there we go with notifying the IC and the agency administrator about who you're dealing with and why, and what questions have been asked, and listen to their direction as far as what to do. They may assign somebody from their own staff, that agency, local agency, to take care of that elected official. Obviously elected officials, they make the laws that provide us our jobs and guide us. They provide the funding for the budgets for the local agency. So it's important to be able to take care of that. These are some of the items that you need to check off your list in dealing with an elected official. Preparing itineraries, briefing materials, transportation, if needed, PPE for the tour, personal protective equipment, the proper protective gear to wear to go out into the field, arranging news conferences, and provide advice and counsel. It's surprising during these incidents that a lot of elected officials don't schedule their own press conference. Some may, they have that ability and authority, but they typically wait for the incident management team or agency to do it, and they'll join in. Let's take out handout 7-1, which is back in your supplemental materials. And over the next couple of units, we will be getting into preparing a press conference or news conference, as they call it here in this handout, drafting an outline at the end of this chapter, and then one of the future chapters, you'll be actually conducting your own news conference or press conference. Decision to have a news conference may be prompted by, and it lists several determining factors. Again, if you're dealing with multiple media resources, a lot of information to get out, rather than dealing with it one-on-one, you hold your news conference. Different jurisdictions have different formats for holding their press conference or news conference or media briefing. If you're going to be providing information to a large group of reporters all at one time with a lot of speakers or officials, that would be a press conference or news conference. And again, depending on agency, local agency protocol or methods, Don spoke about the kind where there's one podium on the dais, and you go up there and PIO starts it off, sets the ground rules. After briefing everybody that's going to speak, everybody's off the stage and they're called up one by one to make a comment. Others, like in our jurisdiction, we do it where we do have that line behind, especially if it's early on into the incident, because everybody needs to provide the media and the public about what's going on. So if we have, the public transportation, community contact to disseminate information, or why do we want to use local facilities?
They're familiar with them.
Exactly. They're familiar with it. It's starting that healing process, of getting people back together on a local basis. Obviously, they're going to feel safer in these local settings. I mean, local buses they're used to, transportation sources, so all because they feel better about it.
Where that came in handy was people that had to register for FEMA.
Mhm.
A lot of them had no transportation. And once that got up and running, it helped them to get to the disaster recovery center and so forth.
Yeah, because they'd all left their cars on tops of bridges.
Yes.
That was the weirdest thing I'd ever
That's
seen.
right, that's right. Well, it didn't get washed into the ocean
Yeah.
that way.
We think one of the reasons why we had such overwhelming turnout at our disaster recovery center in East Palatka is that we used the same facility in Matthew,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the same residents were affected, and so there was already like
They knew right where to go.
I guess an expectation that the same type of services would be available. In fact, we had residents going to that facility expecting the service to be even open before it was open. So
What does that facility serve as normally?
it's an expo hall at the fairgrounds.
Okay.
And so it's, at one point during the height of the storm, we had 200 people a day go through that facility. And during blue skies, there's nothing going on there at all. The facility's available for rent, special events, that kind of thing. During the fair, it's in use. But, to think that we'd have people already shown up at this location,
That's good.
only because they knew that, during
You did it
Matthew.
before, so
Yeah.
they expect you to do it again.
I'll make sure next disaster it's
Yeah.
available again.
Well, yeah, we're setting the bar kind of high. In
Yeah,
fact,
you'll
even-
have another problem if you don't.
We should have done that. We didn't do that.
So we're talking about getting the information out to the community, how we do it, who we use it to get it out to help us. And we're talking about one-way communications tools, meaning, we talked earlier about the sandwich board, which everybody's familiar with. It's wooden structure, kind of like the TP, typically made of wood or something that can be reused, as Joe uses that heavy-duty stapler to post all your message. That's a one-way message. Basically, we're providing information on a piece of paper, on a poster, on a flyer, and putting that on a board in an accessible area that people typically would go back and forth to find that information. Bulletin boards, fact sheets and maps we can put up there, local cable TV if they're up, and our websites. Again, if those avenues are available. Sometimes, as we found out, they're not available, so you have to go to neighborhood information centers. Homeowners board, make sure that that information is up. And again, we set up our community relations plan. We have people in place to do this, to go out there and put out that information. Use the resources you have to be able to do this for you. Two-way communications tools. Again, the disaster recovery center was set up. People knew where it was, and they were able to go there, not only apply for assistance, but get information. 200 people a day going through there, that's huge in a community to be able to provide them the information they need. Town hall meetings, again, they're going to be held. You might call them something else, but town hall meetings is hundreds of people will show up, especially in organization meetings, school programs, special community events, all two-way, where a message can be relayed face-to-face, and people have an opportunity to give you some type of feedback or question you about what's going on. Individuals and organizations, we spoke about the volunteer efforts. Certainly we need to support those efforts as well as, and they're looking for direction. They're going to come in. Boy Scouts of America want to come in and help. Certainly they're a resource. You need to direct them what to do and, talk with their master about what they can do, what they're capable of doing, and use them, direct them. And something else to use members of the community to bring them in. We've got them answering phones. We've got them watching TV news. Have them handle some tours. We can train them, we can direct them and train them on safety features and providing tours of affected areas. So getting that community involved, making sure that they feel involved and engaged, which helps the community a lot better. And now they're part of our organization, so when people talk negative about our organization, they're there to provide support. Says, nah, you know, you don't get it. You should be in the EOC, or you should watch what's going on. Or let's go to this incident command post, or let's go tour the camp. Let's see the conditions these people have to operate and live in for up to 2 weeks. So getting the individuals and or community organizations involved in your efforts and community relations goes a long way.
You know, one thing I'll throw in that
Mhm.
I learned that, I don't know if anybody knows Congressman Ted Yoho. I don't know him personally, I've met him only because of my position with the sheriff.
Right?
But, you know, he may have voted 50 things against me, you know, it affects me personally, but he just organized like 3 of those kind of town hall things like you were mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta give him credit because he did one like in Gainesville, one in Middleburg, you know, the areas that were kind of hit hard. And he was actually there. He had FEMA, other resources there. He had community leaders there on answering about the debris, trying to figure it. So, you know, it wasn't just his name on it. And I mean, you know, I'm sure winning a lot of votes too if he runs for re-election, but he actually seemed like he was trying to do a good thing. It wasn't a political motivated. You know, some of the people were frustrated, as he was, on why things hadn't been done. So I know our community loved it.
I believe he was pretty legit too, because
Exactly.
he actually went down to Willaca, one of the harder hit areas, you know, a week after the storm. We're still walking through water like that, and him and a couple other people
They're
were
there.
walking in that stuff.
They're not there for like a photo op.
Yeah, I
They
mean-
stayed and they
I mean,
they
the photo,
worked.
the photo
Yeah, actually
occurred,
cared.
but he's walking through with good shoes
Sure.
on and stuff like that, so.
Right. Not high heels.
I mean, he set up a table over there and was taking, you know, let a line form and
Yeah,
answering
I think
questions.
he's
And
legit too, he's really cool.
so,
All right, during the incident, there may be some events that occur that are going to strain the relationships between members of the community and the incident management team, and we need to pay particular attention in the event they should occur. So if the incident threatens or impacts populated areas, obviously is a concern that will create a lot of anxiety in people seeking that right information so that they can make an informed decision about what to do. Lee talked about travel restrictions, you know, closing off exits off 95 to alleviate some of the effect of the incident in their community, whether it be traffic congestion in the area, preventing other things going on. But again, people are going to get frustrated when you have travel restrictions. Closing down sections of 95, which is the main way out, or Route 1, certainly could be frustrating to some people. Rumors, political concerns, community actions hamper incident operations. Certainly rumors are something that's one of our jobs as a PIO to try to, number one, hear the rumors, find out what the rumors are, and then be able to correct them. So those are certainly hampers to information, and we have to make sure it's correct. Again, we can have members of the community within the IMT providing, hey, we heard this, the homeowner association meeting last night said that you know, all gasoline is going to be shut off and nothing will be available. Well, that's not necessarily true. So use those members of the community to find out what the rumors are and then help correct those rumors. Community feedback. We're out there, we're part of the community relations team. You know, we have engaged members of the community who are coming back to us as the PIO saying, hey, this is what's going on, this is what we're hearing. Some of the citizens, the members of the community are upset about this, they're upset about that. What are we going to do? Cattle. How are you going to handle the cattle that are loose on the highway because of the brush fire? We understand that Senator such and such is in here, and they're going to hold their own town hall meeting to describe how things are failing. You know, the public service agencies, there's no trust in them, they're all drunks, they don't know what they're doing. So we need to be able to hear that information and relay that back and share it with other members of the incident management team. I suspect mosquitoes will come up.
It's funny, I didn't hear anything about it until just now, but I guarantee I'll get an invite.
I'm going just so I can bring a mosquito.
You know, during the Parker,
I don't even, I don't know, know,
Stop talking
but
about mosquitoes, I'll mention.
I have a right to speak there anyway.
When is this meeting, Ronnie?
Wait,
That's we got people come all over the place and you don't live even live here.
I don't even live here, but I'm gonna be.
But I was passing through.
Don't let the
that's why I
mosquito
did.
bite you in the ass, all right? Okay, guys, moving on. Ron, you okay? Did we answer your question? concern?
No, it related to community meetings and handling the quote eruption, so.
Yeah,
think we can do it.
yeah, I mean, don't engage them. I mean, let them vent. They have their time.
The
Let
sheriff
them
will be
mic.
there.
Have them ejected.
Well,
You know.
won't they get even more upset if you just go, okay, next?
Ah, hey,
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
show empathy.
Oh,
It's a test question. Show empathy.
show empathy.
And say, we care about what you're saying. We understand your concern. Don't have the answers for you right now. We're going to look into it and get back to you.
Yeah.
Document who they
Now
are,
sit
call back
down.
personally. And, you know,
Hashtag because we
they'll appreciate
care.
that. Whoever might have the right answer, have them
Hashtag
in
what's that
contact.
smell?
And pretty soon after,
It's hot in here.
pretty soon after. Okay, we'll get into exercise 5, and this pretty much will wrap up our day. And maybe get out a little bit early, but I want you to put full time and effort into exercise 5. Please find that in the back, your supplemental materials in unit 7. And this exercise is to provide participants with an opportunity to prepare a community relations plan. That's what we talked about in unit number 7. And a news conference outline. Not that you will have to do a news conference, but you do need to provide an outline. So, this is scheduled to last approximately 30 minutes, including small group discussion and presentation of group findings. Participants will review the Liberty County tornado scenario and develop a community relations plan and news conference outline to meet a particular audience's information needs and demands. Within your work group, select a group spokesperson. Please try to make it somebody different that hasn't done it yet. Read the Liberty County tornado scenario on the next page. As a group, develop a community relations plan and news conference outline. You may utilize handout 4-2, Sawtooth Information Plan as a model for your group's plan and outline. And then present your community relations plan and news conference outline to the rest of the class. Please use your charts to document both. Any questions? Okay. You have 20 minutes to do your table discussion and develop the plan.
Oh, wait a minute, is it the fire or is it the?
It's the tornado,
Okay.
Liberty County tornado.
Where am I? Oh, right, okay.
No, that's not, oh yeah.
Tornado, okay.
Yep.
So we just have to know which chapter and supplemental stuff is the handout 4-2.
It would, 4-2 would indicate chapter 4,
Well, they're always a month behind.
and then supplementals for 4.
All right, so Sawtooth, oh, that's right. Well, we're gonna do
Tornado.
Have you guys found 4.2 yet?
It should be in your supplemental.
Yeah, ours ends in 4.1 and there's no,
A police officer from one of the northern counties, I forget which one, he took it upon himself to organize callers to answer the phone. And we even answered the phone. Now, it's easy for us as a PIO to know where to go in that room to get an answer. So what we started doing is doing sheets
Yep.
with all kinds of information in a packet, so that when we got some volunteers and we said, here,
This is, yeah.
this will answer a lot of your questions. And they, because before that was established, one story was, somebody walked by the bank of phones, and one of the call takers was facing the opposite direction. The phone was ringing off the hook, and she was just shaking her head.
Yeah.
She was overwhelmed, had no what, she was just tired of trying to get answers, and she didn't know what to do.
Yeah, the other problem was, they said, and after 5, we don't answer the phone.
Yes.
And we went, what?
At 5 o'clock, we just.
5 o'clock, no, don't answer the phone, what are you doing?
So that's a big, big issue. Don't establish a hotline.
And
It's
don't
not
answer
gonna
the
be
phone.
manned.
That's a cold line.
What do you think anybody would actually call? Buy a lot of honey buns in jail, I guess, right?
Yeah, and you can,
Hi, group. Good afternoon. Welcome back to lunch. Really enjoyed Joe Farago coming up here and providing some of his insight into the class. And I hope you found a lot of it reinforced what we've already covered in the first couple of days. A lot of the same language and principles. Interesting to see the wildlife as almost chapter by chapter what this L952 class, the All Hazards class, is all about. Anybody here, I know we've been sharing a lot of personal experiences throughout the week so far, and ask for a little bit more. Has anyone here actually been evacuated themselves personally? Had to leave their homes for any particular reason?
Yes.
How did you feel?
For wildfire.
Yeah.
I mean, in Gilchrist County back in the 90s.
The bugaboo fires.
I think it was before the bugaboo
Was it?
fires. But we had, I mean, you could see the fire across State Road 47.
Yeah.
And the ash was falling. It was, I had to get my dogs all together and go.
How did you feel? I mean, what did you feel like?
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you have time to pack up items that you
Yeah.
thought you needed to have?
Yeah, it wasn't that big of a rush.
Right.
We were watching it come for a while. It was not a fast-moving fire, but it lasted for a long time. Everything was covered in ashes.
How long were you out of your home?
2 days
Where did you stay?
at a friend's house that had a, acreage where I could put all my dogs.
Right. Did your home or community suffer any damage?
My home didn't, but, I mean, everybody in Gilchrist County there's only, 15,000 people there.
Yeah.
So everybody got a little impact. The dairy suffered more, I think, than we did on our side, but
As a community, did they do anything in the days of or after to get together and find out what was going on?
no, not really. I mean, I was working at the time in Gainesville, and I lived alone, and I couldn't leave my dogs at the house because it caught fire while I was in Gainesville. I was, 40 minutes away.
Okay.
So, but there was no, I mean, that was, I think, 98 when we had all the wildfires, and everything was burning in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That was the fires that they evacuated Flacco County, right?
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, that's when fire departments from around the country were coming down here to help.
Yes.
Prince George's County actually came down. They went to Jacksonville Stadium. Would that make sense? They went to one of the
Probably.
stadiums, and they had to go through the credentialing process to become an official Florida certified firefighter. Even in those circumstances, they had to do that.
Yeah, that's.
How did you get news and updates about what was going on or when you could return? Do you
Well,
remember?
Well, I was working in Gainesville at the university, so, I mean, Gainesville's kind of the hub right there.
Right.
So that was not an issue. I mean, I was at the university, there was lots of information.
So despite being evacuated, displaced for a period of time, you pretty much maintained control. You have that emergency services background.
Well, at that point I wasn't, I was a research scientist, but, and that was, I don't even know if I had a cell phone then. I might have had a cell phone, a bag phone. I might have had a bag phone.
All right. So as public information officers, what impact do you think we can have on the communities that are affected by incidents we respond to as an incident management team? We can, a good PIO can make the incident for you, can make the entire incident management team and therefore the entire agency that you're working for look good. Or on the opposite, make you look quite bad. No, PIO can make you or break you. Remember we said that earlier. So in community relations, two main functions for the PIO. We keep individual organizations and affected communities informed as best we can, and we enable individuals and organizations in affected communities to express their concerns. Don talked about that, number one, keeping communities informed. It was a challenge during Irma down in Monroe County and the Keys because the infrastructure was obliterated. There was none. There was no power. Cell phone towers were down. How do you communicate with the community? Well, you go back to traditional methods. Radio was available in some areas. talked about an earlier incident he was deployed on where they actually took radios from a warehouse that had been stored away and gave them to everybody. Do you think that's a very positive community relations tool? That's huge. That residents of a community that have no other means of communications are getting something that they can actually use. The government is here. Here you go. This is going to help you stay in tune. Give them the channel that they can tune to. That's huge. But the areas that are affected but have no means of communications, traditional methods, the radio, creating flyers to go out and hand to workers, to go door to door and hand out people about where to get information, where the shelters are, what needs to be done. Things got better eventually, and you start using your social media tools and other traditional means to get the word out, but you know, it's a huge role. And again, this is something assistant PIOs can accomplish by working with the community. Will it be the lead PIO? Probably not. This is something he's going to assign in the incident command chart, where you have the lead PIO and the two probably assistant PIOs, external and internal. And on that external function, he probably has an assistant PIO assigned to the community. Community relations is huge. This goes over the reasons why we believe community relations are important. I mean, you have a community, the people that live there, they're affected the most by the incident that's ongoing. So obviously they're going to be upset. There's going to be a lot of anxiety. That's why I was trying to pull out of Martha, but she wouldn't give it to me. She was upset, uncertain about what's going on, what were the plans.
I've always been an information junkie, so I would go out and find the information.
Right, and you knew how to do it. I mean, you had that wherewithal to know where to go to find that information. So that was important. Remember we spoke earlier about the roles of the PIOs, getting the right information to the right people at the right time so they can make the right and informed decisions. Nowhere else, I mean, that probably fits best here in dealing with the community in an affected area that we've been deployed for. We need to get them the right information at the right time so they know what to do. I mean, do they need to evacuate further? Do they need to make plans for days, weeks, months? You know, all of this anxiety, I mean, you talk about having pets, children, work, what's going on with work. I mean, all of this stuff, that they're looking for information to know what to do. Obviously, at PIO, we inform the individuals and organizations about what to expect after an incident. You know, it seems like after the incident, after the glare of the media spotlight has left the area, citizens are still left with the need to know what's going on. When is this trash getting picked up? You know, when is the debris going to be gone? And they still need to know that. So our job's not done once the media leaves. You know, they're gone, the story's over. Paul, welcome back.
Thank you guys, sorry I was late.
Hey, no problem, man. We understand like
I had a
that.
search warrant.
Joe Farago said hello.
Man,
Sorry
I
he missed
really
you.
wanted to come back and say hi.
Yeah, he actually came back in to see if you were back yet, so he could say hi to you, but he had to head back down south.
Did you get any pictures of them?
Running headshots and signing
Yes.
autograph everybody too.
Check on my Twitter or Facebook. I did get a couple pictures of Joe teaching.
He's quite the celebrity.
He
Indeed.
is, I like him.
David was quite impressed. Obviously a Trekkie fan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so he was in
He
Star
was
Trek
part of,
6, I was like, oh, I gotta talk to him about this.
What is this?
He was in like 30 movies, he's got his own
We don't
IMDb
Google them and
page.
everything.
Yeah, he's got IMDb.
So as part of community relations, we need to engage the people before, during, and after an incident. Community is very important. They're the ones we're there for to begin with anyway. Yeah, we're there to manage an incident and help the agency we're there to work with, but we need to deal with the community. Obviously, the existing agency may be overwhelmed with other things, but they're going to have to be involved with us as well. So it's not us by ourselves. We're going to help that existing community get back to normal. So principles of community relations, you know, can't repeat it enough. Right information to the right people at the right time so they can make the right decisions. Communities recover best when individuals and organizations are involved in some way. You know, we talked about having some volunteers come in and watch the TV and document what time our show came on, what time the news came on, what was said about us, who said it. Why not invite